And welcome into a Tuesday, December 7th edition of the Unreasonable Odds podcast. I'm your host, Julian Edlow, along with the other host, Steve Buchanan. Maybe you see us, maybe you're listening to us. I'm the main host, you're the other host.
I know. When I open up,
I'm opening the show.
No, but listen, when I open up, I always say my handsome co-host, whatever you call me, the other host. Like, okay.
I put in my Twitter bio co-host of the Unreasonable Odds podcast when we started this podcast, and you put host of the Unreasonable Odds podcast. So I took that personally, and I decided to let it out today.
Fine.
All right. Week 13 is wrapped in the NFL. Week 14 is on the horizon. As usual, we'll have some odds are with Johnny Avello. As usual, it tis the season, Steve Buchanan. We're in December. The holidays are here, and we'll be getting some giveaways together in December. All kinds of interesting stuff, and we'll just leave it at that. But yeah, before we get to odds are with Johnny Avello and go over some things, take a little peek behind the book. Let's cash it or trash it for week 13. I'll start with my cash. It was Monday Night Football. Pats +3. Pats money line. 7 wins in a row. 7 covers in a row. 14-10 in Buffalo. Only touchdown for the Bills is a N'Keal Harry face mask punt to the face mask to thank for, which we can get into this, but Bill Belichick coached one of like his masterpieces of his career. Like he was grinning. He went into the locker room and was grinning like, yeah, we ran the ball 47 times and only threw it 3 times and was very happy about it. Why did N'Keal Harry get put back for the first punt return of his NFL career? The last time N'Keal Harry returned a punt, he was at Arizona State. Is he a 50-mile-an-hour wind specialist punt returner?
Nope.
Probably not.
Nope.
Interesting decision. Only bad thing the Pats did all night. They embarrassed the Bills. They ran it down their throat. Couldn't stop it. Defense balled out as they have been each of the last 7 games during this win streak. And the Patriots, who you gave out on the sweat as a futures bet to be +500 for the 1 seed, are now +150 to land the 1 seed in the AFC. I almost don't like the odds on the Patriots anymore. +500 was great. They're a little too heavily favored now. But yeah, cash everything, Pats. I did personally sprinkle once we got close. I knew I had to do something with the weather. Sprinkled a little Damian Harris over 48.5 rushing.
Oh, easy.
Rips it off 64. Nice and easy. Get it out of the way. I also did our little bit that we do that some people may or may not see during Monday Night Football. Where we gave out Damian Harris to score the first touchdown of the game, which came.
Oh, good. Easy.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a really good week for the podcast and for all the shows that we do. There was not many trash hits this week. I actually don't even know if I have a trash hit now that I'm sitting here thinking about it. It was a really, really solid week. Obviously, I was all over the Patriots. I was all over the Patriots, and then I was a big backer of the Dolphins. I said, stop undervaluing this team. Stop being worried about Mike Glennon. Stop being worried about whoever the Giants are going to trot out there to play offense, because it's getting worse and worse every week. I almost feel like, this is like the Papa Shango curse again, and somebody hates the Giants because everybody's just going down. Because now Glennon's hurt on top of that. So was it Jake Fromm? I think is the next man up. I mean, that's where they're at right now.
Yeah, he's not very good.
No, he's not very good. We haven't really seen him much, but that's the rumor.
Trash it, Jake Fromm.
Yeah, right. There you go. But I talked about the Dolphins plenty. I talked about the Patriots. I said that was one of my favorite teasers too. Putting those two together, that was not even a sweat for any of them. So you just needed the Dolphins to win, get them down to -0.5 point, and then Patriots +9. Obviously, 0 sweat there. Went out to a lead, never looked back after that, and then they obviously had that remarkable game plan on that one. I guess the only thing I will trash is I was looking for the Bengals in that game -3. Just a weird game for the Bengals last week. It was kind of a strange outcome, going down 24-0 rather quickly too, almost coming back against the Chargers, and then they just kind of collapsed near the end there too as well. But that is, I feel like, so par for the course for the Bengals this season, is that they're either like absolutely dominating, or it's you don't even realize what team you're watching because they just look completely opposite. Oh, I'll give you a trash. Joe Mixon going over his rushing yards. The game script obviously was not in the favor at all. You know, I said I'd be willing to play this up to the mid 90s for Joe Mixon rushing yards. Actually had a chance to get there late when they started to make a comeback and they were handing him off the ball. But, you know, the matchup was there. Everything Joe Mixon had done, you know, the prior weeks coming into this led you to believe that he could do this. And if the game played out differently, he easily could have got over there because he was still efficient on the ground when he was getting the ball. Just the problem was he wasn't getting the ball because they had to go to a pass heavy game script being down 24-0. So it was the right play. It just didn't work out. And that's just betting in a nutshell right there. So we'll trash Joe Mixon going over his rushing yards.
Yeah, I had the Bengals as my last play that I added to my card. It was the smallest play, but it lost. That game, weird, like the Chase and Mixon turnovers.
Yeah.
Chase had a touchdown caught that he bobbled and turned into an interception. So that's a 7-point swing.
Yep.
The Bengals were driving to take the lead after down 24-0, cut it to 24-22. Bengals driving for the lead. Mixon fumble returned to the house. Those two turnovers were the game. Like, don't get fooled by the box score. If those two turnovers don't happen, the Bengals win. So I don't know what that means, but you can just remember that moving forward. My trash will be the 49ers. I was out on the Seahawks. I saw enough. I bet the 49ers just as big as I bet the Patriots. Seattle was alive at home. Seattle plus, I got it at 3, but Seattle plus 3.5 at home against the Niners was a very sharp play, and a lot of professionals did play it. That's where you look for that bounce back. But I'm fine going, I like playing some certain sharp or professional or whatever you want to call them plays. And I like fading others because nobody's right 100% of the time. And I faded that one and I paid for it. The Niners could not get that done.
I'll tell you what, though, you cannot feel bad about that loss because it's not like Seattle dominated them or anything like that. Like Wilson was 30.
It was a 7-point game.
Yeah.
San Francisco lost the game on 4th and goal. And Seattle jumped out to a 7-0 lead on a fake punt.
Wilson was 30 for 37 passing for 231 yards. Like, give me a break. That when you look at a line like that, and then you look at the score, and then you watch what the game had, the Niners gave them every single chance to win that game. That's all it was. That was more.
This is betting the NFL. You can make the argument that if Seattle doesn't run the fake punt and Joe Mixon doesn't fumble, the Bengals and Niners win.
Yeah, absolutely. But I thought that game was so indicative of how bad the Niners are than the Seattle, like, being back. Oh, they're back. Watch out for the Seahawks. 4-8. Here they come. Give me no.
Pete Carroll all jacked up after improving to 4-8. Just like
Pete Carroll. That guy, man, I'll tell you. How old is he now? He's got to be like getting up to his 90s at this point.
Old? I don't think he looks great for 90 if he's 90.
And then the worst part is Seahawks have the Texans now, so now they're gonna break off 2 in a row for the Seahawks. They're back.
Here's a preview of our Week 14 look ahead. I'm not gonna put Seattle into a teaser or a money line parlay.
Oh, come on, man, they're back and play the Texans.
If it's Davis Mills, it's gonna be, I guess, harder not to, but
yeah. Got to take the Seahawks. They're coming back with a vengeance. All right, we're going to get to Odds Are with Johnny Avello, as always, getting some insight into the DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's get to that.
You heard the music. If you're watching on YouTube, you see the man. It is time for Odds Are with Johnny Avello, Director of Race and Sportsbook Operations here at DraftKings. Johnny, how are we doing?
Steve, Julian, great. Thank you, guys. Another week's passed. We're getting towards the end of the season, the last quarter, and teams are now looking to get into playoff position. So fun time in the NFL, as well as other football around the globe.
Now, hold on one second. Don't sell yourself short. Hall of Famer Johnny Avello. Let's make that perfectly clear, okay? First Hall of Famer on the show we've ever had, okay?
Oh, thank you guys. Appreciate that.
It's true. We can add that to the intro. All right. Before we started our segment, we had a quick off-air chat about, as we record this on Tuesday, December 7th, Monday Night Football to conclude Week 13. This Patriots team, we've been talking about them every week because they've been giving us a reason to ask you about them every week. And now here we are again. I'm going to word this as the Patriots embarrass the Bills on Monday Night Football. It's not often you see a 14-10 final and you can say one team embarrassed the other, but that was the case in this situation. Best bet of the NFL season was Mac Jones under pass attempts. If you had that, he threw the ball 3 times in the Patriots' victory as road underdogs over the Bills. Before we talk about the game specifically, I do want to talk about player props in this game because it was probably one of the most interesting player prop games of the season because of the weather in Buffalo, the ridiculous winds over 50 miles an hour, like flagpoles blowing over, the goalposts literally running around. And it was a big divisional game in prime time. So it was getting the attention. Everybody knew about the weather and were betting unders, rushing props, things of that nature. So like, how did the extreme wind cause movement in the prop market? And what did you guys see? Were there any big winners or losers that were clearly created by the weather?
I don't know if I would call it embarrassed, but
it was embarrassing.
It was certainly a huge W for the Pats, though. And you mentioned this wind factor of 50 to 55 miles an hour. Yes, the passing completions for the quarterback, plus the individual player receptions and receiving yards were all bet under pretty heavily. The total rushing yards wasn't hit as heavily as you might expect because when you look at, the carries and yards gain may have not necessarily correlated with the extreme weather. You'll see maybe a lot of carries, but not necessarily a lot of yards. The Pats did bust out a couple of really huge runs, which, put their total way up, a couple hundred yards rushing last night, which was, pretty extreme actually for the extreme weather.
Can you really quick, just as a follow-up, can you think of any other games that remind you of this where people got word of whether it be weather or something else that caused just extreme movement, I guess, in the prop market to bet whether it be overs or unders?
I can tell you about a game quite a few years ago where the Broncos were playing at home and then there was a note came across that the weather was going to be very extreme and everybody bet the props under. And then it comes on the telecast and here it is sunny and, 50 degrees. So the players actually got burnt on that one.
I thought you were going to say the game last year where the Broncos did not have a quarterback against the Saints, which was a very good game to Steve and I.
I'm going back quite a few years prior.
All right, let's continue here with the Pats a little bit. 7-0 run, both straight up and against the spread for them right now. They've been plus money in the AFC all season long, but after that win, now they're minus 265 in the division. Now entering the bye week, the latest of bye week has happened in the NFL. Plus 300 for the AFC and plus 700 for their Super Bowl odds. These have all fallen dramatically. So, what's the liability looking like on the Pats futures for the book right now?
Hey, Steve, you mentioned bye week. I think it looks like 2 weeks, doesn't it? I think they don't play for almost 2 weeks. Pretty incredible. So chance for them to get healthy on anybody that may be hurt. There is some liability there on the Super Bowl, but it's welcomed because we want to build that future book and grow that as big as we can. Because remember, there's only one team that can win the Super Bowl. And we're in okay shape in the conference with them. And there is some liability on that division. As you mentioned, they are now minus instead of plus.
All right. Let's recap all of week 13, going back to Sunday, going back to Thursday night. We had the Cowboys coming through and covering as a big road favorite. Most of the chalk came through on Sunday. With, as we talked about, like not just massive favorites, but massive road favorites. What were some of the games that were the best and worst results for DK Sportsbook in Week 13?
Tampa Bay Falcons, Colts, Texans, and Cards, Bears. They were all close to the top spot for taking us to the woodshed. The Rams and Jags, Chargers, Bengals were a couple of others where we weren't taken quite to the shed, but we did get kind of slapped around a little bit. Ravens Steelers was one of our better games, and the Vikes Lions and 49ers Seahawks were both okay games for us. But it was a rough week overall.
So continuing that, let's look at the Week 14 board. 6 favorites. This has been a common theme of over a touchdown this week, but unlike previous weeks, most of these massive favorites are the home team this time around. A home field's advantage has not been a thing so far, really, in the NFL in the 2021 season. But where's the early money going for in Week 14, and which spreads do you think are going to see some of the biggest movements before we reach kickoff on Sunday?
Well, there has been some, road favorite movement early. Surprisingly, some of that early money was on the Jets, though. And the Saints opened 6.5, now down to 4.5. I know. I know what you mean.
Jets have won a few games, and the Saints are spiraling out of control.
Correct.
Home dog.
Yeah. Seahawks at the Texans are a popular early choice. Seahawks up from 6.5, crossing the 7 to 7.5. Seahawks looked back offensively last week. Ravens opened 1 at Cleveland, and now the Browns are the 2-point favorite. So that's one of the bigger movement early games. Other games I expect to move would be Titans at home versus the Jags. Open 9s, now up to 9.5. The Jags are bet against every week. Seem to be a couple point movement in those games. And it probably make it up at least a 10, maybe cross that. And the Cowboys open 4.5 at Washington. That's now down to 4. I can see that thing 3.5, even 3. That's a close divisional rivalry, and normally that game's not much higher than 3. So I think we'll see some movement there on the Washington football team.
Washington's still alive in that division. Dallas ran away with it early, and they still have both head-to-heads to come. So big game in the NFC East on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to beat out the Cowboys in the division, but
probably not.
The football team is looking at a playoff spot. They, win another 3-4 games and get them there.
Yep. All right, college football conference championships. We talked about it a little bit last week. They were awesome over the weekend. What were some of the best and worst results for the book when it came to those games?
We did okay on overall on Saturday. The Iowa-Michigan game was no good, as the Wolverines acted like a true Wolverine and destroyed their prey. Georgia-Bama was around a break-even game for us. The Baylor-Oak State game was good for the house, as well as the Houston Cougar-Cincy game was also good for us.
All right, you mentioned the Bama game. My Alabama team, I took preseason futures on them, as I do every year almost. That is my squad. We don't do college football here in the Northeast, so I had to pick somebody. I let all my futures sit. Tough to hedge them when you're a big dog in a game, when you were a preseason favorite. They came through for me. I couldn't have been happier with that game. Kind of dominated Georgia. 41 points against that defense. Go from potentially out of the college football playoff to firmly the 1 seed in the college football playoff. What is the handle now looking like for Alabama, who I think on Saturday was plus 550 to win it all, and now a plus 120, plus 140. I forgot to even look. Favorite on the board. So what's the handle like on Bama? What's the handle like on the rest of the teams that made the college football playoff?
Yeah, crazy how that happened. Nobody saw that coming. That could see Alabama winning the game, but not the way they did. If the bettors had the insight that you had, Julian, they would have jumped on that Bama last week at around 6-1 or so. Now they are that a petite plus 120 or 6-5. Georgia's taken money all year. They're now at plus 140 after being minus $2 last week. in the other two teams, Michigan, was another one you could have gotten at a really big price, and now they're sitting at 7-1. So some out there have some good value on Michigan at the 30, 35 range. And then Cincy, they're 16-1. They bring up the rear of this pack. They were around 30 or so not that long ago, and still decent value if you think they can win a game here.
Got to get through Alabama as a near 2-touchdown dog there as the first leg of cashing those Cincy futures.
Yeah.
All right. Bowl games. I'm already obsessed with going through this slate of bowl games. I've already bet a handful of bowl games. You got to be a little careful. News changes with them. They're so far away, and there are certain players, like we already know, the pass rusher for Oregon, likely the number one pick in the NFL draft, or favored to be the number one pick in the NFL draft, isn't going to play for Oregon. You've got teams like Oregon who, their hope was the college football playoff. Now they're in a bowl game. It's kind of a letdown for them. Same thing with like Ohio State. They wanted to win a national championship. Now they're playing Utah in a bowl game. So it's a tough market with games so far away. And we'll continue to talk about these up until the time that they happen. But in the early going, where is the money going in some of these big bowl games?
You're correct in what you say. I mean, there's just going to be a lot of movement in these games based on guys that aren't going to play. Some guys will be injured. Some guys will be saying that they're leaving school, just leaving, period. Or some will say it'll be.
Yeah, no, they just say, I'm going to get ready for the draft and I'm not going to play.
Exactly. A couple of games that UTEP opened at a 13.5 point underdog to Fresno. That's now down to 11. That's one of your bigger moves. Tulsa 7.5 over Old Dominion. That's now 9.5. Florida 6.5 over Central Florida. They've taken some action. That's now up to 7.5. A couple others were Oklahoma -3. You mentioned Oregon. So Oklahoma is another team, though, that was vying for a national championship.
That's what I was just going to say. You got Oregon guys out, so now Oklahoma money's coming in. We still have, whatever that is, 3 weeks, more than 3 weeks for Oklahoma to sit everybody for the draft, too.
Yeah. So then the game opened 3. That's up to 4.5. Ole Miss opened up 2 over Baylor. Now Baylor's the favorite at 1.5. So that's another. And one of the other games was Reno. Reno opened like 6.5 down to 1. That was a game that had just tremendous amount of movement.
The Western Michigan bowl game.
Yes. Yes.
Nevada quarterback Carson Strong, probably a first-round pick. That went from like a touchdown to 1. He's not playing in that game. I'm breaking the news right now because the number tells me everything I need to know. He's not playing in that game. That's how this works.
Okay.
Johnny will not comment, which is fair.
Hey, let's wrap this up with some exciting news for us over in the Northeast here. The DraftKings Sportsbook opening a location up at Foxwoods. I don't know if you've ever been to Foxwoods, Johnny. The Foxwoods Casino is about the size of Rhode Island. Like the place is absolutely massive. They have so many things there. That used to be like my hometown casino, even though it was like 2.5 hours away. Didn't care. Would always drive out there. Absolutely love Foxwoods. But that is happening on Wednesday. That is the grand opening. Our friends from VSiN are in the house. Follow the money. They're doing the rest of the week of the show at the location there. Just give us a little bit of insight of what we can expect from this brand spanking new location.
It's been open a little while. We had a soft opening, so to speak, and the numbers coming out of there are very promising. It's certainly going to procure some of its business from the state of Massachusetts, as you said, Steve. Yeah. And it's also a good-looking book, and we have a great partner in Foxwoods.
Yeah.
I think Jason's going to be up there, Jason Robbins, to, cut the ribbon and open up. So anybody
I was cutting the ribbon.
Well, yeah, if you can't make it, Jason's going to do it.
Jason's making the line.
Anybody that's around should come by and take a look at it and enjoy the festivities.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're looking forward to that. And like we said, right in our wheelhouse there, all the states around us are legalized sports betting, except Massachusetts right in the middle there. We're just, dragging their feet on that one. That's probably the nicest
convenient location of DKHQ.
Yeah, I know. unbelievable. But yeah, really looking forward to that at Foxwoods this week. So make sure to get down there this week or anytime after the opening to place your bets over at the Foxwoods casino location. As always, Johnny, appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, thank you guys.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Johnny. All right, always helpful as usual. Thanks to Johnny for coming on the podcast. And yeah, we're pumped up about the Sportsbook opening up at Foxwoods. Hopefully, Steve and I will catch some of you guys over there watching some, who knows, sports that Steve doesn't watch, some bowl games, some March Madness, all that good stuff. NFL playoffs. Steve watches that. Okay, week 14. I do not have much. I don't want to have much because unless you have a really strong take on a certain side, NFL sides are really tough right now. And the Patriots are on bye, so I can't bet the Patriots, which takes away a play that I usually use and like and win. So we'll start with you. As we mentioned with Johnny, we got all the big favorites of a touchdown or more, 6 of them, but 5 of them at home. Pretty gross Thursday night football matchup between the Steelers and Vikings.
Don't even bother.
A game that the Packers should dominate on Sunday Night Football as 11.5-point favorites against the Bears. A decent Monday Night Football game in the NFC West. Rams at Cardinals, a field goal there. Anything jumping to you on this board, Steve?
Love taking the Bengals at -1. I'll go right back to them this week going against the 49ers. I mean, I was just, in the earlier segment, I was just poo-pooing all over the 49ers. So what kind of man would I be if I'm
not you're a fraud if you don't go back to it?
Exactly. So what kind of man would I be if I crap all over them and then I don't bet against them this week as basically a pick 'em against the 49ers? Give me a break. I'll take the Bengals there. It was a little sloppy last week, no doubt, but the Chargers are a much better team than the 49ers. So the Bengals minus, 105 with the points, minus 115 on the money line. I have no problem going right back to the Bengals this week. At least as the board looks right now, that's probably my strongest conviction because there's not a lot of strong convictions that you can have right now. The only other one that I would maybe say I'm ready to take already is the Buccaneers at -3. Like getting that at -3. Before it gets up to -3.5, because I think it's going to end up trending that way. But the interesting thing is we just saw the Bills get absolutely, torn apart on the ground. This has happened for the second time recently for a team that supposedly has one of the best run defenses in the league. But now you have the team that throws more than anybody in the Bucs. Not saying they're going to change your game plan. Oh, now all you got to do is run against the Bills, but just an interesting dynamic where they were just getting the run shoved down their throat. And now they're facing the past heaviest team, if that's even a term, in the league, in the Buccaneers this week on the road.
Yeah, it's tempting. You just got to watch out for a bounce back spot from the Bills because they still are a good team and they still are going to be throwing the ball deep with Josh Allen against that awful Tampa secondary. Lean Tampa, no play there for me. I've only played one thing so far that I've bet. I feel like you're not going to like it and you're going to think it's gross, but I really like this play. Browns money line. -130 hosting the Baltimore Ravens. Here's why the Browns are going to win this game.
Okay.
The Browns are coming off bye. Their game before the bye was a 16-10 loss at Baltimore on Sunday Night Football.
Yep.
This is rare. You're playing 2 games in a row against the same team in your division. In the meantime, Baltimore went to Pittsburgh, lost the game, lost Marlon Humphrey, another corner for the season.
That's right.
Baltimore is dinged up. Lamar Jackson isn't playing great. I think that they're kind of spiraling out of control a little bit here. Meanwhile, you have Cleveland coming off the bye to get healthy at home, spending the whole 2 weeks reviewing tape from Baltimore, ready to beat them again, while Baltimore is going to Pittsburgh and figuring out how to replace certain guys. I don't think the Browns are very good. I don't think the Ravens are very good. I'm betting 100% the spot here. I'm betting the spot. And the Browns this is at home. This is in Cleveland.
Well, coming into Sunday,
full on spot bet for me here.
Coming into Sunday and watching the Ravens play, I'm just thinking to myself, this has to be the worst number one seeded team in the league. The Ravens. This is the team that was in the number one seed going into Sunday. Like, they look awful, look absolutely terrible. So, I mean, that this was not a game that I looked at and I was like, ooh, definitely got to, get the Browns now. Definitely want to get on that. But you bring up some good points.
This was on Sunday. This was a pick 'em.
Yeah.
And it has touched 2.5. So I'm not going to mess with the points. I'm just going to take at -130. I'm going to take Browns money line. And is literally it for me in week 14. I don't know what else I'll come around to betting. I don't hate the Vikings on Thursday Night Football. Steelers now get the win over the Ravens. It's kind of a sell high point on them. Vikings, what better buy low point than losing to the Lions?
Right.
And the Vikings kind of seem to just play up or down to their competition. I feel like this is a spot the Vikings win. I don't know if it's a confident enough spot for me to put some money on. So for now, yeah, Browns money line.
Just real quick too, I'm just taking a look. Only 40% of the handle is on Browns -2. Bets are down the middle at 50-50. So just a little insight into that there. And then which one do you say, the Vikings?
Sure.
Yeah, 59% of the handle on the Vikings. I have no problem with that. 57% of the bets. I mean, that's a game that I'll probably just take something so I can feel something on a Thursday because football will be on. That's just the vicious cycle you seem to fall into, and that's what happens on these Thursday games. That's why they put some of these crap games on there so we can just bet something. I don't want to bet on this game, but I'm going to. That's just the type of person I am. Just like I'll poo-poo all over your team and then I'll bet against them next week. That's the kind of guy I am. I'll do it. Bengals, let's go. -1. Love it.
Correct. What bowl games are you going to be betting on, Steve?
Oh, definitely Bama. Yeah, love them. Yep, taking them to win it all. Every bowl game. They're going to win all the bowl games.
They would if they were allowed to play in all of them.
Especially the one on New Year's. Yep, they're going to win that one on New Year's.
They play. So New Year's is going to be insane. I've been trying to figure out what I'm going to do for New Year's. I'm trying to talk the wife into hosting a party so that I can just have people over to, it's a New Year's like dinner party, couples, that I can just watch the bowl games in the comfort of my home. But New Year's is going to be crazy. New Year's Eve is the playoff games, essentially Alabama and Cincinnati. And then Georgia, Michigan, winners play in the national championship on Monday, January 10th in Indy. And then New Year's Day, the New Year's Six Bowls, Penn State, Arkansas, Oklahoma State, Notre Dame, Iowa, Kentucky, Utah, Ohio State, Baylor, Ole Miss. Really good games all day New Year's. I'm going to give one thing out now because I think it's my favorite bowl play. And I've already put it out on Twitter, and it's my biggest bowl bet.
Oh, boy.
Utah's down from +7. They're to 6.5. I don't care. Utah +6.5. Hopefully you got the 7 on Twitter. I'm counting it as 7 because I gave it out as 7. Utah +6.5, +7 over Ohio State. Utah +200 money line over Ohio State. Utah's winning this game. We kind of talked about it with Johnny. Ohio State's, expectation was to beat Michigan, get in the college football playoff, and compete for a national title. They're coming off a loss in the national title last year to who else? Bama. This is a down spot. It's a down spot. And I expect some guys that are eligible for the NFL draft to sit this one out. Whereas Utah had a slow start to the season, 1-2, and has been building upon everything, mopped the floor with Oregon twice, an Oregon team that I might add beat Ohio State at Ohio State, and is going to be ready for this game. I think Utah is the better team right now and will be more motivated for this game and will have more key players active for this game. So Utah on New Year's Day, 5 p.m. Eastern, it looks like, is going to knock off Ohio State.
I'm going to take Penn State -3. You know why?
Why?
I like the Lion.
Okay, so I wasn't going to give a second play, but I have a small bet already on Arkansas +3 on the other side of that game.
All right, we'll see. We'll see who's right.
SEC against a team that just, again, it's kind of spiraled out of control in Penn State this season. And, Penn State let down at the end. Arkansas, a team that I bet the under on 6 wins on, lost. They've had a great year. They probably won't rest many guys. They'll be up for this bowl game. It's as simple as that.
Just making a reminder, take Penn State.
Yes.
All right.
I'm very excited to go head to head in this game.
Let's go. We'll do it.
All right. We will I will have plenty of bowl game articles, plenty of bowl game coverage on this show, hopefully some bowl game guests coming on this podcast as well.
I'll pick games just based on mascots and see how it goes.
Could work for you. Go ahead, end the podcast.
All right, we'll see you on Thursday. We'll have another special guest this week, as always.
Would you like to advertise our guest or no?
Let me just double confirm. We'll double confirm tomorrow, and then we'll do that. But she is a prominent figure, so we'll put it at that.
Well, you kind of teased some.
Yeah, so prominent figure. We'll put it at that. So we will get to that on Thursday. We'll go over more of the Week 14 board, hopefully, and more. We'll like more. Hopefully, things will change since then, but kind of an ugly board this week, but we'll get there. We'll push through. We'll give you something. Don't you worry your pretty little heads. We'll get you there. Until Thursday, for Julian Edlow, I'm Steve Buchanan. Catch you then.